Today's broadcast of Husson University's Distinguished Speaker Series is brought to you by MMG Insurance, protecting your piece of the world.
Welcome to the 25-26 Distinguished Speaker Series. Today, businesses must continually seek to acquire new information and turn that knowledge into strategy. To facilitate this process, Husson University, home of the largest college of business in Maine, is pleased to continue to present the Distinguished Business Speaker Series sponsored by MMG. This series, launched in conjunction with the opening of Husson's new College of Business building, Harold Alphon Hall, in 2021, has included dynamic speakers from all walks of life, including banking, government, management, marketing, and more. Its main objective is to educate students, alumni, and community members on the challenges facing businesses and related professions, as well as to inspire those who become our future leaders. Today, we are welcoming Julie Dawson Williams. Julie is a Bangor native who has been a licensed real estate agent and realtor since 2000. She graduated from Bangor High School, my alma mater, so I'm very pleased to have her here with that, and Bowdoin College. She then worked in the office of United States Senator Susan Collins in Washington, D.C. as a legislative correspondent on healthcare, art, and historic preservation issues. In 2006, Julie started working for the New England Council as a Deputy Director of Federal Affairs, where she focused on higher education, healthcare, and technology policy. In March of 2008, Julie and her husband, Brian, returned to Bangor, eventually purchasing the family business in 2013. Julie and Brian are proud to be the second-generation owners of and operators of Dawson, Inc., a family of companies, including ERA Dawson Bradford Company Realtors, Dawson Insurance Agency, and Dawson Commercial Brokers. Over the past decade, Julie has grown the businesses to more than 80 agents and 3 locations, implemented cutting-edge technology services for agents and clients, overseen a refresh of the brand, and redesigned the agent training program. In addition to running the family businesses, Julie believes in volunteering in the community. She has previously served as a committee member on the City of Bangor Planning Board, a director of the Penobscot Theater Company, the chair of Fusion Bangor, and the president of the Greater Bangor Association of Realtors Board. Julie currently serves as a director for the Bangor Mechanic Association, Bangor Fuel Society, Maine Real Estate Information System Board, and vice chair of Northern Light Health. Julie lives in Bangor with her husband, 2 sons, and 3 dogs. Welcome, Julie. We appreciate you joining us today for the speaker series, and we're so looking forward to discussing your leadership journey.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I'm always curious to see where we can start in a conversation, and after reading, you're a Bangor native, so we're very happy to have you on the stage here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Husson University has been a big part of my life over the years.
Yes, so you've touched, the Gracie wasn't always here, but you've been in the Gracie many times before.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
And a lot of the wonderful community members that I'm close with, this is an important institution to them, and they've been very supportive of it. And we've had lots of wonderful people who have started working for us, who have come from Husson. So we're very grateful for that.
And we appreciate the outreach that you've done and working with interns and even having people come on as full-time with you. So that's pretty amazing.
Well, I think our affection for Husson started with Joanne Munson, who was one of our first top producing team agents at ERA Dawson, and was a graduate of Husson University. And then many others, the stories go on, but I think about Gus O'Feely, who is a student of the hospitality department here, and who has created a very successful real estate investment business for himself. And has partnered with us at ERA Dawson Bradford. And then most recently, Gabby Wiggin, who actually was having lunch with us earlier today, who is thinking about a career in real estate, might be moving to Virginia after this, but sad to have her leaving Maine, but happy to be making those connections for folks, no matter where they want to be.
Well, I think that's something that is very clear to me, is the connections that you make in your role now and before. It's just been wonderful, and I did see the students light up in talking to you at the lunch that you just had.
Oh, we had a great time.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
And you're wearing Husson green, so I have to call that out.
I love a theme, so I'm happy to share the school spirit, for sure.
Absolutely, I love it. Well, I wonder about taking a walk back in time first with you, going back to maybe that first job that you had, and what was it, and what did it teach you, I guess, is maybe my thought.
Okay, that's a great question. So my first job was answering the phones at ERA Dawson Bradford. I was 14 years old. I was allowed to work in the family business. And Saturday mornings were not the favorite morning that staff would really appreciate working. So we typically had hours at that time on Saturday mornings from 9 to noon, because in that time frame, folks had to pick up keys from the office in order to make a showing happen, to let folks into homes. So I would be there in the mornings, take the calls, set up the showings, talk to the agents, make sure that someone was responsible for signing out the key or returning a key from a previous showing. And having that responsibility and that public-facing part of customer service was really valuable. Not everybody was particularly pleasant on the phone, and some people were lovely on the phone. Folks that might have had a little bit of pressure to set up a showing, maybe in a short order, and helping them connect with the right people to make sure that that came together. So I think being, a freshman in high school, having something that was a responsibility above and beyond my academics or sports was a great opportunity to learn in a safe environment, right? I'd come home and my parents would help me analyze everything that happened that morning and how I might be able to say something differently or make people feel more welcome or more comfortable. And that every opportunity that I have a conversation with someone within ERA Dawson or outside of ERA Dawson is an opportunity to make a connection with a community member.
So that is a challenge, because you never know who is going to be on the other end of that phone. And so thinking about those conversations, I appreciate that you were involved with the family business, but you were learning real skills right off the bat.
Oh, absolutely. I also got pretty good with my typing skills at that time. Nothing was on a computer, everything was on a word processor.
So half of the people in this room may not even know what that is. So
it kind of looks like a typewriter, but you could delete your mistakes. Is very fancy. Getting those skills, I remember my father one summer, I think I was in 8th grade, asked me to use a computer software system that would teach me how to type at a certain rate. And the goal was 35 words a minute. And I did get there by the end of that summer. I'm much faster now. So data entry, customer service, front-facing experiences were really valuable. And I think it also helped me understand the value of reputation, that my parents took their role in their business very seriously. And I was already a pretty straight and narrow kind of gal, but it gave me a deeper appreciation for why they were so giving to their community, why they were so focused on connecting with lots of different groups within the community, and making sure that they provided a level of service to their agents so that their agents could provide that level of quality and that level of reputation to anybody that they were serving as a client.
So let's talk about that for a little bit, because I think just to explain how Dawson works, so basically the realtor side that you just described, because I'm not sure that that's known, and how that as really the business model, what does that look like? You mentioned agents, you mentioned your parents at the time that owned the business. How does that work?
So really we're a small business of 5 people who are staff, and then we have 80 licensees, so they are all independent contractors. When my parents started the company in 1974, it was the 2 of them and then 4 other partners. They were called Country and Coastal Real Estate, and just a couple of years after starting in real estate, which, just as an aside, real estate is a very democratic business. You know, as long as you are over 18 and you have a GED or a high school diploma, you can get your real estate license. And I think that that is a really interesting part of real estate. So my parents in 1974 started Dawson Inc. They decided to make an offer to the other partners and take over the entity. And they spent 7 years listing and selling real estate. And so some people in this room may have had a family member who bought or sold a house with my folks.
Yes.
So Marie, my folks are here. They're down front, John and Nancy Dawson. So thank you for being here today. And what came out of those 7 years with the business model of everybody who comes on board is an independent contractor, right? Really making their own business. But I think at the 7-year point, from what I understand from my folks, because I wasn't around quite yet, that providing a level of service and training so that other people could provide the services that my parents were providing that made people feel so welcome and secure and understand that their real estate transaction was going to be smooth. They were able to amplify that. And in very short order, and my father started teaching the sales agent course. And he was able to find really wonderful people to become a part of the team. You know, it was kind of a pre-interview process. And I think that really allowed the success of growing from 7 agents to 50 agents to 60 agents. And the word gets around, this is a really great place to work. This is a really great place to conduct business. You can trust these folks. You're going to have a positive experience. And that's what it all ended up being about. And then in 1989, my folks expanded into Orono. They partnered with Richard S. Bradford, who had a real estate and insurance agency. And that's where we expanded into insurance. We have a small boutique insurance agency with 4 agents. And that continues to thrive as an ancillary business for us. So real estate is, you know, our agents are 1099. They are our clients, really, as the agency goes. We're responsible for guiding them through their transactions. We're responsible for making sure that their reputation is protected, that their compliance is at a high level with rules, laws, and also code of ethics. We are all affiliated with the National Association of Realtors, so there's an additional code of ethics that we adhere to. And then the insurance on the ancillary business side, we also have a commercial real estate division. And so those 2 businesses are complementary to what we do on the residential real estate side. So if someone has a question about flood insurance, or someone is going to be listing their home and it is going to be vacant, what sort of coverage do they need? But also, you know, I'm looking at folks in this room. You might be a student, maybe you have a vehicle, right? That vehicle should be covered. Or maybe you live in an apartment. Do you have renter's insurance, right? It's not just related to a real estate transaction, it's also related to you as a community member. So it helped us provide a higher level of service, being able to answer more questions for people. So that's the model. Not a lot of folks know what ERA stands for. So ERA it stands for Electronic Realty Associates. And in 1972, ERA became a franchise and started expanding. And my folks were attracted to its focus on technology. We are all independently owned and operated, though. So we set our own policies and procedures, we set our own business model, but that element of having a national organization who can help with marketing. At the time in 1974, it was the fax machine and a projector for a listing presentation.
Right.
Now the things that we're
paper,
doing,
yes.
exactly. Now the things that we're focused on are things like three-dimensional virtual reality cameras, Matterport tours. We have fully digital transaction management systems that allow you to do a transaction if you are maybe in the Antarctic, I suppose. We've done several while people have been in the Middle East. We've done several when people have been on vacation. So active duty military as well. It just makes life that much easier to navigate, I guess, when you're in a transaction. So we've come to the fore, and the technology has come with us, but our goal is to make sure that we are providing the cutting edge level of services and technology for our agents so that they can make the experience for their clients as smooth as possible.
I'm sure hearing like 80 agents, that begins to think, how is that a small business? But it's a nice way to think about understanding 1099 and understanding that independent contractor, but you are considered a small business, really.
According to the state of Maine, we are considered a small business. According to the chamber, we're considered a large business. We had the honor of being recognized as the Bangor Region Chamber of Commerce Large Business of the Year. It happened to be our 50th year in business as well, which was such a lovely recognition and surprise for our whole team.
Sure.
We were really appreciative of that. So yes, I think on a daily basis, I look at it as a large business.
Okay.
But the way that the state of Maine categorizes our business is we have fewer than 15 salaried or hourly folks on payroll. So we are considered a small business according to the tax rules.
Right. I'm going to say the accountants and the lawyers here just got involved with creating that distinction. But I appreciate you explaining that, just because I think from real estate is an interesting piece. We all are living somewhere.
Yeah.
And then thinking about going into that job. So you obviously had an inn. Did you ever work anywhere else along the way? We talked a little bit in your bio about some of those pieces. I'm curious about your journey besides 14-year-old Julie.
Yes, besides 14-year-old Julie. I did get my real estate license when I turned 19.
Okay.
And it was one of those things, both of my parents had said, oh, don't get into real estate, but just have your license and put it in your back pocket, right? Just in case. So I did list and sell real estate in the summers while I was in college.
Okay.
I was also a waitress those summers, which it was great. I had a chance to have several other bosses just to see how my own experience would translate. But I would say if anybody has a chance to be a server, if you are going to go into sales or business in general, there's not a better training ground, I don't think, than being a waitress or a waiter or server, because you get to sort of improvise, right? Improvisation is quite an important skill in sales in general. Sure. And knowing how to navigate different personalities and how to help someone navigate themselves to a solution. So I really appreciated that. And so the waitressing that I did was on Mount Desert Island. So it was very lucrative. I did very well each summer. Enjoyed living down on MDI and hiking and being outdoors, and really enjoying all of the wonderful things that Acadia National Park has to offer. But after college, I wound up moving to Washington, D.C.
Which is quite a jump from Bangor, Maine.
Yes, it is quite a jump. I did live in Madrid for 6 months while I was studying abroad, affiliated with Bowdoin College.
Okay.
And I got the bug for an urban experience. And Washington, D.C., many of you are students in the room and watching from the comfort of your couch at home. But there was something about the idea of, I came home to the safety of Bangor, Maine after graduating from Bowdoin, listed and sold some real estate, saved my pennies. But, around October, after I had graduated, I was like, oh, winter's coming. I think if I want to make a plan, I need to do it now. So what I ended up doing was I made a plan to visit friends in Boston, New York, and DC.
Okay.
Because I figured I'm probably still an East Coast girl, probably not going to go to San Francisco or LA. I don't really know what I want to do. So I'm going to just interview with friends of the family. I'm going to interview with folks who are alums from where I graduated.
Yeah.
And I spent 2 weeks in each city. And having that experience was really great because I had a chance to see what it would be like to spend time in these cities with not a lot of cash, right? I was staying with my friends who had just graduated from college. None of us had a lot of money.
Sure.
And there was Boston felt very familiar. And there were a lot of people that I graduated with who were there. New York felt a little intense. A little more concrete than I was looking for. And then I got out of the metro in Washington, D.C. By the way, the metro is impeccably clean in Washington, D.C. You can't chew gum, you can't drink anything, you can't eat anything. It's so clean and amazing and very easy to navigate. But I came out of the metro and went to my interview on Capitol Hill, and I was like, yeah, it felt like home away from home. And my first, I interviewed a bunch of places in DC as well, but my first job in DC was working for Senator Collins.
Yeah.
And it was such an honor to work for the people of Maine. I look at working on Capitol Hill kind of like graduate school. It's just a lot of really smart people trying to make a difference in the world. And it was such an amazing opportunity. Senator Collins, whether you agree with her politics or not, was an amazing person to work for. She runs a 150-person organization across the state of Maine and in Washington, D.C. She holds her staff to the highest standard. I thought I was type A, and then I met Senator Collins, and I met my husband, and I was like, oh, I am a B+. I am not type A. But it taught me a lot about writing incredibly well. I thought I learned that at Bowdoin, but really responding to people's questions and answering them, doing excellent research, making sure that you're aware of your resources, understanding who your mentors are, and really checking in with them on a regular basis. Because Senator Collins is a perfectionist, and it's because she believes that every single day we are coming to work for the people of Maine. And that's 1.2 million people that we're accountable to. And so that was really inspiring.
Sure.
And at the time, it was 2 Republican women senators.
Yes.
Moderates, which is a dying breed. And so we all just had such a good time together. And we really felt like we were making a difference. And I know that the staff that is there continues to feel that way and makes a difference. And now she is the chair of the Appropriations Committee.
Right.
That's amazing. Like, we are disproportionately benefiting from that. So I look at that experience and I say, wow, that was like a rocket ship. That gave me so much
And you had
exposure.
no idea that that was what you were going to do. I think
No
that's
idea.
important as you were talking to some of the students. They may not know exactly what they're going to do. So
Exactly.
I love the journey you went on to try to find what that was.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. I did not know what I wanted to do. I wound up doing something very different than I thought I was going to do. I thought I was going to, work at the State Department and get into diplomacy. I majored in government and international relations at Bowdoin and Spanish. But all of this eventually guided me towards really wanting to make an impact on Maine by participating in the economy. And so I found having these conversations with my parents really inspiring, because they said, well, you can come work in the family business. Heck, you could come buy the family businesses, And that, just that offer was perfect timing, because I was starting to really understand that that's where I wanted to be. Loved living in DC for the 5 years that I lived there. I met my husband there. Also a Mainer, though.
Yes.
The thing that I appreciated about working on Capitol Hill and Washington, DC in general, is that it really is a small town. Or at least in the government spheres, all the people that I met right away were from Maine. And then it became people who were working on legislation that was important to their state, and they needed your senator's support, and it was very collaborative. And I think that that was such a positive experience, and I wanted to take that sort of more global look. Like I get a better appreciation for the nonprofits and the businesses and the different either governmental or non-governmental private institutions of the state. And I really wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be in the middle of it. And so my husband and I, Brian, we got married, and then 2 months later, we were talking about moving back to Maine. And we did not think it was going to happen that quickly. I think it was more that the opportunity presented itself. We were talking with my parents sort of remotely, right? They were in Maine, we were in DC. They were sending us, profit and losses, and we were doing the analysis, and gosh, how could we make this work, And then we moved back, and we just took the leap. And we spent 5 years figuring out the plan for purchase. And this is where we get into, you were talking about the lawyers and the accountants and those kinds of things.
All of them would be coming forward, right?
We could not have done what we did in purchasing the business, in making sure that we were doing the right thing by my folks and ensuring that they had a great retirement, because they had worked so hard to build this business. We wanted to make sure that we were leaving them in good hands. While also making sure that we had all the terms in place that any business transition should have. So, great advice from George Eaton, Redmond Winchell, and Starboard, who specifically focus on intergenerational family businesses. It was invaluable, the guidance that they provide.
And that's a challenge, right? I mean, I don't want to say it's easy when it's someone you don't know, and you're making a purchase, and you're divesting of somebody that's already been there. They might be leaving. But you have family. Like you said, you wanted to be fair. You wanted to have this continue. I think you wanted good reputation, is what I'm hearing too there. That's added challenge. I know we have some students that have family businesses that they might be looking at. And how hard was that for you?
It wasn't hard, it was challenging.
It was challenging,
It's what we all wanted to do.
Gotcha.
We knew what the goal was. It was a matter of making sure that, so one of the things that I talk to agents about when they're getting into a team, the coming together is as important as defining how you will make an exit strategy, because you never know what will happen, right? And so our goal with working with George and his team, and Brent Singer eventually, when George moved on to Northern Light Health, and then Snow Berry at Berry Dunn, and her team, they were so helpful in making sure that we had all the right protections for my folks, all the right protections for us. And my parents had great representation. They had their own attorney and their own accountant.
Nice.
And I think that approaching it almost as if it were a arm's length transaction. There we go. Sometimes
Yes.
I have to take a second. Treating it like an arm's length transaction and then coming back and saying, does that feel like what our family would decide to do? Really was a powerful way to go through that process.
Sure.
And I would strongly, it's expensive, right? It's expensive to get that advice, but worth it in the long term. So we looked at it as an investment in ourselves and in our relationships.
Yeah.
But also it was a very long-term transition. So we had a 7-year transition plan with my parents. And my mom is still licensed. Dad is happily retired. But although he does like to say realtors retire and die on the same day. So I'm glad you're getting a little time and you didn't have to pass on to be retired, Dad. But my mom is still out there in the community connecting with people and identifying the perfect person to take on that opportunity, whether it's an insurance coverage that somebody needs, right? They see someone out at a camp and they just got a new boat. Oh gosh, you should call Julie, she'll help you, or maybe it's, a need for a first-time home buyer that someone that she's greeted into the community through one of the organizations that we're a part of. So
those skills, actually, you said something earlier I wanted to return to, navigating people to the right decision. And I may not be quoting you exactly right, but that was an interesting piece that you picked up through serving, working as a server, but
definitely.
Maybe, it sounds like you're still doing that today.
Absolutely. So when I think about what we do on a daily basis and what my specific job is as a CEO, I'm making decisions every day all the time. And I'm helping people get to a place, hopefully, that will get them to a resolved transaction or the one little hurdle from an insurance perspective that just isn't allowing somebody to move forward. How can I help somebody translate this information so that they can reach their goal? And that's the fun part. Yeah. I mean, I'm a problem solver.
Okay. Which makes sense. I mean, the government study, you're speaking my language with the poli-sci piece, but thinking about solving problems, we talk about what are those skills that we hope people leave college with, but at the end of the day, some of those are intangible as well, and we like to call them power skills around emotional intelligence and those areas that if you're helping somebody navigate to that solution, what do you feel like you're using for skills?
Listening.
Okay.
But you can't listen if you don't ask any questions. So I find that genuine curiosity about the person across the table from you is a superpower. Or a power skill. And I think education is so important, and I think you get a lot of education, not just from your professors, not just from the lectures, but from the interactions that you have with that professor or the other students that you are studying with or interacting with in class. There's so much that we learn. I appreciate you mentioned emotional intelligence. For me, I think probably the most important thing is finding a connection with someone. And then if you identify a skill that you have that will help them, they don't need to go any further. But if they have a need beyond your expertise, take the initiative to take the next step and get them connected with someone in your sphere who can help them. And that's what I think has been a distinguishing factor in Dawson Inc. overall, in all of our businesses, is that we've nurtured these relationships over the years. And whether it's someone that has a need in the greater Bangor area or they're going to go to California, we have these strong relationships that we've built over 50 years. I can't believe I've been doing it for 20 years. It just kind of time flies.
Yeah.
And sometimes we forget what our talents are, and you have to be really good. I was talking to the folks at lunch about this. It's really important to be able to dial in on what your talents are. And for me, it's sitting down and talking with you, Marie, or helping people learn how to present and be comfortable in their presentation, whether it's to one person or 100 people or 1,000 people. And that's something that I feel confident and comfortable with on a daily basis. That's one of my power skills. But I also have my mom's power skill, very little fear.
I was just going to say, because some would be afraid of presenting that you just described, but you're bringing courage to that, and that's something that just came more naturally to you?
Well, I had people who believed in me. My parents, I could do anything. When I was 5 years old, when I was 16 years old, when I was 25, now at 44, you know, that is something that I have been able to do, and that is not something that everybody has inherently. But Thibaut asked me earlier today, can you be an introvert and be successful in sales? Yes.
Great question.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate that question, because I would say that more than half of the folks in our business are introverts. But there are superpowers that introverts have too.
Sure.
Whether it's intuition or observing powers. And as long as you can find a way to take the skills that you have to make a connection, you don't have to be boisterous, you don't have to be courageous. You just have to be aware of your talents and make the most of them. And sometimes you have to do some things scared.
Yes.
It's okay to be scared and not feel confident.
Well, I was just thinking about the most important skill you identified of listening. If we think about where an introvert may be sitting, listening is their power skill.
Absolutely.
So they bring that to the table already. So I love identifying where those strengths are and where that growth is. If you were looking back, you obviously still, despite the support you had and everything, are there things that you feel like you still need to work on?
Oh, sure. Oh, gosh. I mean, we're all human beings. There are always things that we can improve on. Actually, we were just talking at the beginning. Sometimes I'm late, right? And I would like to be early. My grandmother used to say, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And then if you're late, just don't show up. But sometimes I peel in on two wheels, and it's out of wanting to connect with the person that I was just with and help them. But at the same time, I'm disrespecting the person that is waiting for me. And Marie and I were talking about how we both have changed the way we talk about, I've stopped apologizing for being late. I've started thanking people for their patience. And recognizing that that is something that I need to improve on. And usually people are very gracious, but that is something that I'm working on. And I continue to want to be able to ask people better questions, not just, so what do you do, right? Hey, what's new? What are you doing for fun? What's keeping you busy these days, right? So always finding new ways to open people up.
And to start those conversations. So one of the things that I love that you said is being curious. I feel like if you can start a sentence, I'm curious about, and go there, that it opens the door, right?
It definitely does. And I think that, I think one thing that I am good at is getting people to talk about themselves, right? It's open-ended questions. Who, what, when, where, why, how. Someone can't say no or yes to an open-ended question. I mean, they can try, but it would be a little bit of an awkward sentence structure. So if you ask, well, what were you up to today, right? Or how are things going with your folks, right? Or those kinds of open-ended questions are going to lead to a much more interesting conversation. So yeah, I would say, but areas that I continue to try to improve on is, so I'm inherently trusting. And so in business, sometimes people aren't always telling you what is real. And so I have had to really fine tune listening to my intuition. I've really had to fine tune asking better qualifying questions of people, whether it's vendor partners or getting really good at interviewing questions, bringing people on, so that it's not just a surface level conversation. You can kind of better understand the motivations of an individual. And I take a lot of people at their surface, right? I'm very trusting of folks. So that has taken some time. My husband jokes sometimes that he's my chief risk officer. He can see in my blind spots sometimes. So fortunately, I don't have to be a skeptic.
Right.
Because that's not my natural state. I'm a very positive person.
Which comes across, and so you don't want that to go away.
Exactly. So celebrating the strengths and recognizing where I either need to surround myself with other people who have that skill or have that power skill, or develop it for myself.
It's so interesting because when you were talking, I did not know what ERA stood for, so I have to admit that I didn't do my research there.
Oh,
so
that's
thank
okay.
you for saying that. But it brought the idea of technology back to this. I know we started with the word processor and moving up. We've been talking a lot about people.
Yeah.
But obviously, real estate has moved. You mentioned VR. We have 360 tours. We have all of these pieces. You actually worked on rebranding with the organization. And you and I started to have a conversation around AI and how it's affecting. I'm curious if you could share how AI and some of these other pieces are affecting the business as you see it today, maybe in combination with the people piece that we've been talking about.
Absolutely. So my parents, especially my father, have always been technology forward, right? Want to play with the new toy, the new tool, the new thing. And if you like it, great. If you don't, no problem. But with the curiosity of how do I apply this to my business? How do I apply this to my life? And so I think a lot of people are nervous about the job market because of AI. But I think it's here. It's not going to be regulated away. There might be regulation that changes how we use it, but for now, let's figure out how to make it a positive, is my approach. So within our businesses, insurance specifically, we have a CRM that we use for documentation purposes and making sure that we're staying on top of where our clients are in a insurance transaction. That company has AI within that documentation system because there is confidential information. So I think that's something that from any business's perspective that has contracts or uses a lot of confidential information, you really do need to have an enterprise level AI solution. So a real estate agent.
Closed-ended. It's not your chat GPT that you're out there just putting whatever into because of that confidential piece.
Because we don't want all of a sudden the terms of a purchase and sale agreement to show up in someone's search results when they say, what should I look out for in a main purchase and sale agreement? And now they see.
If you actually entered that into ChatGPT today, you probably would find examples of what people have done.
Exactly, which is a little disconcerting.
Yes.
But that's why we have policies and procedures that restrict people's activity as far as agents and their use of AI. But from an implementation perspective, right? We talked about insurance and having an enterprise closed-ended AI that helps with deadlines and writing emails and making sure that everything is going the way that it should. On the real estate side, it's more marketing focused. So AI is helping agents refine their marketing remarks, descriptions of a property. Right? Maybe there are key words that we should be focusing on that are better suited for SEO and GEO. And we can prompt all day long. So what I hope our agents, our staff, everybody in the room, is learning how to prompt AI. And as long as you're learning how to prompt AI, you will be the person in control of the content that's coming out of it.
Sure.
And the further you can refine the conversation that you're having with AI, the better it's going to understand your voice, the better it's going to understand the types of things that you're looking for. And so it doesn't matter which one you choose. Choose one and stick with it and let it get to know you. And you could decide that you want to use all 8 or however many there are. But I think that any resources that you have available here through Husson, use them. But also, when I think about what things people need to learn, it's still important to understand, where do I go find that information for myself? How do I verify this report is telling me the accurate information?
So don't be too trusting, as you were just said, to make sure that it is right.
You know, Cliff's Notes are great, but you know what? You might want to know where that quote came from on page 86. You know,
they probably don't know what Cliff Notes
are.
Okay,
never mind. Anyway,
the faculty do, but
sorry. Cliff Notes were the printed version of a summary of a book, but AI is super helpful because it's giving you the summary of the reading and giving you bullet points saying these are the most important things from this article. But there's something different in experiencing something in person or actually reading the paragraph yourself and interpolating whatever you want, right? Your experience with a text is going to be different from that AI. And so that's just something to keep in mind, right? It's a powerful tool. You should be learning how to use it. You should use it. And then set your own standards for what is practical and what is, from your perspective, ethical as well.
And I find it interesting because you're training agents around this. So yes, go look at what's the best way to describe this property, but maybe you don't just put it down the way that it came out.
Yeah, I use it as to avoid writer's block. And I find that, you know, it's been great for blog writing. It's been great for social media posts. It's been great for scripts for videos because I have content everywhere. It's like, hey, could you look at the posts from this year, this date, and that video from that thing, and could you write me a blog?
Interesting.
Right? And then I come back to it. It's content that I've already created.
And you're trying to reach clients,
agents, the community at large.
Okay.
And then I can go in and make sure, is that my voice? Is that how I would say that? And it keeps me from my perfectionism. That's another issue that I'm working on. And I think that'll be a lifelong issue. But instead of not doing it because it's not just right, now I have something to pick apart, edit, right? And we work with a marketing agency as well, and it's the same sort of thing. They create the content, they send it to me, I get to pick it apart, right? Because somebody already made it. And it's so helpful because I say, oh, that's perfect, or ooh, it needs to be changed a little bit, or that isn't what I was actually thinking, and even though I said this, somebody else interpreted it this way. It doesn't matter if it's a human being or a computer. Every person and device is going to interpret what you say maybe a little bit differently than you intended. So it's a powerful tool, but you also have to be willing to edit and verify.
Well, I'm sure the faculty will appreciate that piece as we talk about these things. But it does make sense then the world you're living in is both. It's both people and technology. And it sounds, what's interesting is we talk about that today, but truly it was that way when your parents started as well.
Absolutely. So I think that the ability to make that connection, whether it's someone moving here from Michigan or Texas, or someone moving down the street because they had a significant life change. You know, today at lunch we talked about happy stressors and sad stressors, right? We work with people on the real estate side with usually their largest financial investment.
Right.
And
which can be scary.
It can be very scary in and of itself. And then on top of that, there's usually a stressor, which is happy, a baby, a marriage, a promotion, or a sad stressor, which is death, divorce, downsizing,
Sure.
those sorts of things. So we're helping people through both of those stressors and helping them navigate that.
Well, speaking of stressors, there's been a lot of success that you've talked about and things that have gone really well and maybe not even as you had imagined.
Sure.
Were there any particular challenges that stick out to you that you learned some lessons from? It depends on how you feel about the word failure, but challenge, failure, anything like that stands out.
I'm a big fan of learning from mistakes. Brian and I have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, and we're trying to help them understand that it's okay to fail. Coming from a person who's naturally inclined to be a perfectionist, that's hard.
Yes, yes.
And I apologize, I just kind of lost my train of thought.
So your failure.
Oh, my failure, yes. So
or one of them, right?
So probably the most significant, they happen all the time, right? If you don't throw mud at the wall and see what sticks, you're probably not cut out to run a business. But there is an element of real reflection that happens for me. 2017 was a big year. So we bought the businesses in 2013. And so there were 4 years for people to kind of get used to the Julie Dawson Williams show versus the John Frank Dawson and Nancy Spears Dawson show. And there were a lot of changes. We talked about the brand update, the trainings, all of these things were happening, and that's a lot of change. And then there's also the technological advancements that we brought into the fold. And so it took a little time, but by 2017, the people who were not comfortable with that change finally decided that they were going to make a move. And so there were 6 agents who left the real estate side all at the same time.
Oh, yes.
And that was a really valuable challenge to navigate because there were clients that we needed to help navigate that change, and some clients wanted to follow their agents to different locations. Other folks wanted to be referred to people within ERA Dawson, just depending on what their relationship was. And my goal as a designated broker is to look out for the best interest of the client. So helping them make whatever transition they decided was best for them was my top priority. And I think that that's what guides every decision that I make from a client perspective. So that was a lot of people who said, I don't vote in favor of you. I don't think what you're doing is the right thing. And I took a little bit of time to wallow, and say, oh gosh, are we doing the right thing? Is this the right path? And what I realized is, I really have conviction about how we're approaching our business, and that it is continuing to not only honor the foundation that we're built on, but enhancing it. And so we doubled down on everything that we were doing, and we attracted a whole 20 more agents, so it was such a validation. And maybe one of the skills that I'm continuing to work on is I'm maybe naturally a people pleaser. And that it's okay that some people don't like your service or don't like the way that you approach that, and that's all right.
And that's hard in business, right? Because you're watching potentially people walk away. And to say that's okay because maybe there's 20 more behind them that will. So definitely a big lesson. Well, I want to take a pause for a moment just to see if there's any questions in the audience that is here that wants to be brave. Yes, sir. Can you stand up for me? Yes, please.
Oh, yeah. Great.
Thank you.
I actually have a couple questions, just two. First, what's something you would tell your 20-year-old self? Pretty simple question. And then a little more challenging question. What's something you do to balance ambition and hard work without burning yourself out?
Great questions. Thank you, Christian.
Excellent questions. So advice that I would give my 20-year-old self. So I was still in college when I was 20. I was studying abroad and then came back and was running track and very busy. Had already declared a major. So Probably the advice I would have given to myself is explore Brunswick a little bit more, explore Southern Maine a little bit more. Because someone mentioned like the bubble of being in college, right? You have an entire community here that cares about you a lot, and getting out there and exploring it is really valuable. One of the things that ended up happening my senior year in college, I did a fundraiser for Habitat for Humanity, and that got me connected with other local real estate agents, other businesses, people outside of the Bowdoin bubble, and gave me a chance to connect with another community besides college or besides Bangor, that really stretched my comfort level. So I think I did say that to myself, because yeah, this community wants to continue to engage with every one of you here. And you have such an amazing community within the circle of Husson. But there is a lot to explore. So whatever your interest is, definitely invest in it here on campus, but see what's in Bangor. And not all of you will find what you're looking to do right here in Bangor or even here in Maine, and that's okay. It's okay to go explore. I think sometimes, especially in this region, we really worry about a brain drain, right? And I'm like, well, I'm the opposite of that. Yes, I went away, but I came back because I love this area. And I think about, I mentioned Gus already before, but he moved up here from Connecticut and he never left. Like there was something about the community that he really loved. You don't have to feel the same way, right? But I think exploring Brunswick now, going back, being a supportive alum, is like, oh wow, I can't believe I never went running down that street, or I can't believe I never went to that community center, or I didn't know that this was like a museum right down the street. So there's a level of curiosity that I didn't have at that age for anything outside of my college at the time, that I wish that I had had. And one other thing that I really appreciated as a senior that I didn't know I needed was sort of a rudimentary class on how to establish credit and how to go to a networking lunch or dinner and what to wear and what the forks mean and all that stuff. And thank you, Mom and Dad, they did tell me those things growing up. But like,
I see career services shaking their heads like,
nice.
Yes, this is
so
important.
Nice to learn those things, right? Again, it's great to have the education in the classroom time and help me learn about some of the things that maybe, I didn't get in like a home economics class anymore, right? So that's maybe what I would say to my 20-year-old self. Your other question was
really, how do you balance, really, like prevent the
not
burnout?
burning out. Yeah. Well, during the pandemic, so again, I'm a very positive person, but during the pandemic, so being an extrovert, that was really hard.
Sure.
I learned that there's so much information that we get from just walking past people. You don't even have to know who they are, but they share feedback with you and you don't even realize it. And I went into a place that I had never been before. I was really sad. And I told some of my girlfriends, college friends, and they were like, great, we're getting on a Zoom every week for the next 6 weeks until you feel better. And they were all feeling the same way.
Sure.
And so it was reaching out to my community, right? Not necessarily the people that I could go stand 6 feet apart from either. Like these were people that had known me for a little bit longer. And so that, just after that one call, it was like, wow, thank you for that. And then we got back into the office and I partnered with Northern Light Health's Acadia Hospital. And we had burnout prevention Zooms. And you think it's going to be something revolutionary that someone shares with you about how to avoid burnout. It's drink water. It's stand up for 5 minutes and move around a little bit. It's talk to a friend. It's you know, send a note to someone you care about. It's so simple. And I think sometimes, I don't have my phone here, that's a good thing, but sometimes we spend so much time on a screen thinking that we're connecting, and that actually sending a direct message to someone, actually sending an email to someone, sending a note, stopping by to see somebody, getting those things integrated back into my life post-pandemic, I was like, oh, right, okay. But in a larger scale, beyond the water and the standing up and stretching and those kinds of things, it's more about making sure that my heart feels full and my soul feels full, as much as I feel intellectually challenged and mentally challenged. So it's having a friendly conversation at the office as well as having a problem-solving conversation at the office. Making sure that anybody who has a more remote experience with our agency, that I'm connecting with them, that I'm making a phone call to see how they're doing, to set up a Zoom and make sure that we're making eye contact and talking with each other. And you know, our family just took its first week-long vacation ever as our immediate family. We used to do long weekends, you know, kind of like take advantage of the fact that we have 2 days here, and then we take a Friday and a Monday because we're running a business and we need to be present. I really appreciate that I've gotten to a place where I have the right people on the bus, right? If you read Gino Wickman's Traction, it's all about, you know, getting the right people around you so that you can delegate. Right? So you might just be starting out in business. Be the person that someone can delegate to. Be that valuable person to them. I'm not telling you to like work until midnight. I mean, my job on Capitol Hill, I was only there 9 to 6, right? But I made myself invaluable to the people who are around me because it made their job easier and it taught me so much. So if you can be the person that people trust with the things that are important to them, that will make them successful, it will rub off on you. And it doesn't have to be something that's overwhelming, that takes your identity over or takes your work over. So yeah, thank you for that question. I really appreciate that.
And you actually got me to my question as to what we would leave them with. And I love what you just said is work to be the person that others can trust.
Yeah.
Focus on bringing people around connection-wise.
Yeah.
Julie, this has been so interesting to me. Thank you so
it was
much
such a pleasure. Thank you all for being
joining us
here
today. Really appreciate you.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
And thank
Have a
you
great
all.
day.
Today's broadcast of Husson University's Distinguished Speaker Series is brought to you by MMG Insurance, protecting your piece of the world.